Good morning. Today's supposed to be sunny, which is kind of a rarity this winter. I thought I would take advantage of the sun and do an equalize on our battery bank. We started the generator around 5 a.m. to get the battery bank up to 100%. Now the sun is actually coming out, so we can use the sun and the generator together and start equalizing. Come follow along.
Kirk from the Homestead. So I am in the powerhouse. Today is an equalizing day on the batteries. We're actually going to do a repair equalize as opposed to a maintenance equalize. For those that don't know, equalization is a common thing with flooded lead acid batteries like we have here. Because of all the sulfication and all that kind of chemistry change stuff that happens over the discharge and charge cycle of a battery, it creates like these crystals that coat the plates, like the lead plates, and that stops it from being as effective at storing power. So usually every 30 days in the winter, and every 60 to 90 days in the summer, we do an equalize. Usually it's just a maintenance equalization. So we raise the power of our 48 volt battery bank up to about 64 volts. It really boils up the batteries, mixes everything up, and it also helps dissolve the crystals that are on the plates themselves. The batteries usually start temperature-wise around 60 degrees when we start the process. It's about a 5-hour equalize that we go through once the battery bank is 100% charged. And that 60 degrees usually goes up around 100 or so degrees in the winter because we can open all the windows and stuff like that. You never want to get the batteries above about 125, probably a little bit lower than that. I try to stay as far away from that as I can. In the summer, it's a little bit harder. I have to open everything up and put fans on it and all that kind of stuff because it gets pretty hot pretty fast. The reason we're doing a repair charge today is we think we have a bad cell in one of the batteries. So the way our battery bank is set up is we have 2 separate strings, and that's supposed to give us 2 days autonomy. Our batteries are almost 6 years old now. They're in pretty good shape. So what we're going to actually do is split the string in half, we're going to split the whole bank in half down to its individual strings. And I'm taking that one string, I'm only equalizing the one string without that bad battery in it today to see if I can get all those up to a really good level. And then tomorrow I might try to do that second battery bank, see if I can get that up to, see if I can repair that battery. But I think what's going to happen is we're going to have to replace that battery. It's unfortunate, we are using the Rolls-Soretti batteries. Each battery is 2 volts. We put 24 of them in series, so we get a 48 volt bank, and then we parallel 2 strings like that. One string alone gets us about 1120 amp hours. So the 2 together, we're getting 2248 amp hours for the whole bank. If we're down a battery, that's going to change things. We're going to see if we can run on one string until we can order in a battery, but we're probably looking at a month or so to be able to get a new battery in to replace that one. Just for your information, one battery weighs about 120 pounds. They're 2 volts, and it cost, when we bought them, they were about $460. I did just do some research, and it looks like now with the world the way it is, that we're up around $520, $530. So to replace our whole battery bank, if I had to do it today, we're looking at about $24,000, which is painful to think about. So we're hoping that this repair charge that we do today actually fixes our issues.
Living off-grid, in the winter especially, has its share of challenges for sure. Even this light dusting of snow stops most of the sun from even hitting the panels. This light snow probably would have cleared itself if given enough time, but I really wanted to take advantage of all the power my system can produce, so I cleaned it off before starting to equalize. As you can see, it doesn't really take a lot of work to get it off. The wind turbine isn't doing anything today. With the panels cleared and the battery strings separated, we need to start the equalization. We need to change a few settings in the Mate 3 controller to lower the amp hours to better represent the half capacity, and then we can start the generator ramping up to the EQ voltage. And now we can start the equalization process on all 4 of the midnight charge controllers. At this point, we just sit back, come back every hour or so, and check on specific gravities and such. Over the next 4-ish hours, the process repeats once an hour. Once the EQ starts, I pick 2 or 3 batteries as my baseline and check the specific gravity each hour. To do that, I draw a couple of drops of electrolyte from the battery and put it onto a device known as a refractometer and read the results through the eyepiece. It is battery acid, so care needs to be taken for sure. The goal here is simple. I want all batteries to be around 1.28-ish and only about 0.03 maximum difference between each battery. The battery acid that's on the refractometer then is dumped into a container that has some water and baking soda in it, and that just neutralizes the acid. Then it's just regular water, it could be dumped out. I also use distilled water to clean the meter every so often.
So it has been 3 hours now. The specific gravities are all rising, so things are doing good. It'll probably be another couple of hours, and the bank should be up to its full capacity, and then we can join the banks back together. So I'm not sure if you can see it, but this terminal here has a little bit of corrosion on it. So before it turns into a bigger issue, because this battery string is actually disconnected right now, so I'm gonna pull this battery terminal on, clean the surfaces, prep it with some gel and anti-corrosion spray and stuff like that, just to make sure it stays in good shape. So the battery bank disconnected, it's pretty simple. Just have to pull this bolt out. So I don't know if you can see there, so it's got some corrosion starting around that edge there. So I use some battery cleaner to neutralize it. So I'll let that stay on there for a little bit and do its work, and then I'll come back and clean it all up. That corrosion cleaning stuff has been on there for an hour now, so it would have neutralized all the battery acid that's on there, so now we can just finish cleaning it up. I usually use a rag that has water and baking soda on it, just to help clean things up. I just sand the terminal. So then I have this diuretic grease that helps stop corrosion, and it actually is like a conductor helps, once it's all put back together, it helps the, makes a better connection, electrical connection. So once that's nice and tight, then I just spray on a coating of battery protector and sealer. And that's all there is to it. Occasionally they get a little bit of corrosion on it. I find it as they're getting older that they do it a little bit more. I know part of it is the undercharging of winter. It's hard to get a really good full charge on the battery bank in the winter. Like I say, we end up using the generator more than I'd like, but it's the cost of doing business off-grid, I guess. Okay, so next day now. That bad battery, the one that I was worried about yesterday, I was equalizing for about 3 hours today and realized that none of the batteries are moving up like they should. They were all kind of, well, the majority of them were sitting around 1.22, which is way low after 3 hours of equalizing. So I went ahead and made the decision. That bad battery was only at 1.18, so it went up a little bit, but not much. So I disconnected that battery from that string, tied the rest of the string together. I had to make changes on all of my charge controllers and drop it by 2 volts, as well as adjust my EQ charge voltage. So now what I'm going to have to do with that one battery out, because this side of the bank is only 46 volts, I'm going to actually have to pull one battery out of this side as well, so it's 46 volts. So when I tie both strings back together, I can change the settings in my charge controller, minusing for those 2 battery, the amp hours that will be missing, as well as the voltages for charging and full battery bank. I'll have to make all those changes kind of temporarily, and reach out to Rolls-Royce, the battery manufacturer. From my research, the batteries are 6 years old, which means it looks like there's still a year's warranty on it. So hopefully I get I'm sure it's kind of like a prorated thing, but hopefully the battery's cheaper than the $500 whatever, $550 it's going to cost me as it is now. But at least the batteries are all kind of coming back up now. So I'll probably have to run it another 3 hours instead of just the 2 that's left on this timer, but then we can go from there. Okay, so we're all done. Everything's pretty good. The one dead battery, after 3 hours of equalizing, I was only able to get it up to 1.85. So I'm not, so that one I started a warranty claim on. There is 1 or 2 other ones, 2 other ones that are around 1.25. Most of the batteries in the bank at this point are around 1.28. Those couple that are around 1.25 are pretty close to where that dead battery was. So I'm sure it has something to do with that. So normally, like I say, I do an equalize every month. I'll probably give it 2 or 3 weeks, depending on the sun. If it stays sunny for a couple of days, that's going to change things. I'll be able to come out and check, and they might be up. But I might do my next equalize in 3 weeks as opposed to 4 weeks, just because of all the problems I had with today. So I currently have, so the generator's off. We did about a 6.5 hour equalize. The second battery bank, I took one of the batteries out, or disconnected it. So now both strings are connected back up, and I've adjusted all the settings down by to accommodate for that 2 volt battery. The adjustments aren't, you don't actually just minus 2 volts from each of them. There is a mathematical formula that's on the side of the, well, not really a formula, there's a chart on the side of each battery on these batteries. It'll be different for every battery manufacturer, but basically you take whatever they say, like my bulk absorb, they say between 2.36 and 2.5. So I take that number, I usually go to the high side, so 2.5, and I times that by 23 in this case, as opposed to the 24 that used to be there. And I changed it all around on all the settings. So once like I say, I started that warranty claim, so we'll see how that goes. But for now, that gets everything wrapped up. I'll do a little follow-up once that battery comes back, or once I hear back from the manufacturer, let me know how that goes. But there'll be a lot more about that next time. Until then, have a good one.